you mentioned your grandfather and that this fight was for your grandfather. Can you just share a little bit about how much that meant and how much that motivated you preparing for this?
Man, that meant the world, man. My grandfather and I have been very close from a very young age. I always felt like it went my grandmother to my brother and me to my grandfather, right? That's just kind of how it worked out. And he would take me outside, man. He taught me, he taught me how to fish, taught me how to ride a bike, taught me how to do math. He would sit with me because I was a picky eater. And, my grandmother wouldn't let me leave the table until I ate my food. Like, you have to sit there for hours. And if I was there for hours, he'd be there for hours. And that's just kind of the relationship we had. And, I would get in the car and he had this CD that had "Run Around Sue" on it, which is the song I walked out to, and he would play it a lot. And I'll never forget that when the iPhones and stuff started getting big, I showed him first how they find it on YouTube, and that was like, oh my god, we can listen to it like on demand now, and then Spotify, and then it was just something that I could just pull out, and up until forever, until he had the stroke, it was something that if we would talk about it, and we would go out to, as a young adult, we would go out to eat once a week, once every 2 weeks. You try, and like it was just a relationship that I maintained, and it was something that I held near in my heart. And when I started MMA, and everyone was like, "No, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." I love my mom. My mom is my best friend. Anyone who knows me knows that, and she is my number one ride or die. Before I even sign a contract, if I'm fighting in a different state, her ticket is booked. But when I started fighting, she was like, "Are you fucking crazy? No." And when in a family full of everyone saying no, he looked at me and he said, "Yes, hell yeah, you're gonna do great." And he was a supporter from the get. And I'll never forget, man. I have all my belts here. Um, Bringing him that first belt, the look on his face, man. And then I was blessed enough to be able to do that 3 times, bring him 3 belts. And there's a picture of him with all three, him and I with all 3 belts, man. And just the pride he took in me and the joy that I felt with that was just something irreplaceable. And that support was something that I guess you take for granted, right?
Mhm.
And when he did pass away, because it was sudden, he was healthy, 79, healthy. I'm cleaning, stuff out the way you do, and I'm looking at his calendar. He was very meticulous, and he would always pay attention, and he would write everything down, right? And I told him uh, before I went on a trip in December. It's funny. The last time I think I ever saw him in person, I told him I might be fighting February 23rd, right? And he goes to his calendar, which he had next to his computer, and I guess he writes it down. I didn't think anything of it. The fight never even happened. It was just something I told him. Like, oh, by the way, just keep you in the loop. I might. Like, I'm in talks, which any of my fighters out there know how preliminary that is. Um, Whenever I go on the trip, he has the strokes. We fly back early. Couple months or a month and change later, he passes away. I'm going through, his calendar, and I'm just looking at stuff, and I get to that February. I don't know what possessed me to go through the calendar and start reading, but it showed um it showed on February 23rd Jake's fight, and that really got to me, and I remember crying in there, and that's when it clicked to me that the last fight he ever saw was the fight in Indiana where I got slept with the anaconda, and that really stung, in like in a very selfish way of for me, because I was like, damn, the last fight my grandfather ever saw was alive to see. I got slept, and then it took some soul searching and some long conversations with myself and Jesus, and late at night to realize that he's watching over me all the time, and that I just I got to use that and let it turn into something else. And I did, man, and I trained hard, and I have his hat here, and I have his picture here, and he there was a lot of little tributes to him. The song "Run Around Sue" was the walkout,
Mhm.
and in my opinion, got the best ovation of the night, and the crowd, amped up because it wasn't a typical basic rap song, and the shorts were yellow. His favorite color was yellow, and they had the camo print. He loved the army movies and western movies, and that's why my tracksuit for this fight was Kill Bill ish with a little bit of yellow, and there was a lot of little tributes to him, man, and it was good. Um, I just hope that he was watching down, and that if he could say anything now, I just hope that what I did was enough just to put a smile on his face, maybe make him a little proud. But yeah,
Wow.
man, it meant a lot. And after the fight, you could tell too. I went, I gave my mom a hug and had a little breakdown right there. But
Yeah.
it was what it needed to be, man.